Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinale, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching once a week. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode. My social media is also linked down below. I'll be honest, I've been really bad at posting updates on there, so follow it if you want, but I'm not super great on there about honestly, the thing is, this podcast, sometimes I go through periods where I'm covering shows that air week to week and I'm recapping. During those months, it's a lot more structured. And it's been over a month now of me not having a set show that I'm covering. So I've just been really all over the place with my release schedule. This episode I anticipate going out sometime Wednesday. And I was releasing episodes every Wednesday when Yellow Jackets was airing, and then I started doing weekend uploads, but then the last few have been late anyway. So I think I'm going to go back to Wednesday uploads just because my weekend, quote unquote, is Wednesday and Thursday. And not always, but sometimes I have an earlier shift on Tuesday. So I just have more time after work on Tuesday nights to work on the episode, and then Wednesday to finish the episode. I'm recording this on Monday, but I have more time around then than the weekend. So that's, I think, what I'm going to do for now. I am working on a Yellow Jackets season 3 deep dive. My goal is to have that out by the end of the month, but this episode and the next few episodes until I have a show. Well, actually, I think the next episode I'll probably cover Ginny and Georgia, but I don't know if I want to do a deep dive. Maybe I won't cover Ginny and Georgia, or maybe I'll briefly cover it, but then I'll do a deep dive later. I haven't decided. The Yellow Jackets deep dive is my priority in terms of deep dives, and then I'll do any other deep dives. But the next few weeks, I'm just going to be talking about my thoughts on what I've been watching lately. Chapters or timestamps, that's the word I was trying to think of, will be in the description. So if you don't really care about a show that I'm talking about, feel free to skip ahead to another show that I'm talking about. If you have any shows that you would like to hear my thoughts on, please let me know in the comments or reach out to me via DM. I'm happy to take requests. Anyways, this episode is going to be all over the place. A few shows I'm going to hop around. Again, timestamps will be in the description if you don't really care for one show, so you can hop around. You know how timestamps work. I don't need to explain that. The first thing I want to talk about very briefly, in my last episode, I talked about rewatching Grosse Pointe, and I looked up the Wikipedia page of one of the main characters, and I was like, oh, she's not in season 2. I wonder what happens. And literally the last episode of season 1, which I watched after I recorded that episode, but before I published it actually, but I part of me was like, should I do a little, but I really didn't want to have to record because the audio would be different. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. But in the finale, spoiler for Grosse Pointe, okay, in the finale of season 1, we find out that Andrea is dead. So that's what happened to her. She's dead. And honestly, I wouldn't mention this except for the fact that I but I genuinely, that upset me so viscerally that I started season 2 and I'm tearing up thinking about it now. It's not that serious. I've seen the show. She's not in most of the seasons. Why is her death impacting me that much? I don't know, but I couldn't keep watching it. Okay, because the way it happens is, spoiler, for Grosse Pointe, basically a plane crashes. Melinda has all of these premonitions, or not premonitions, but a ghost is reaching her, right? And it turns out he's a pilot and he died, and so nobody's flying the plane, and the plane is going to crash. Melinda's best friend, Andrea, her brother is flying back from, I don't remember wherever the plane's coming from. Melinda's brother is flying back from there. So she goes to reach him. The plane crashes right in their town. Then for the next 2 episodes, Andrea's trying to find out what happened to her brother. And she's like, I can't reach my brother. I can't reach my brother. And then right at the end of the episode, her brother finally arrives and Andrea goes up to say hi to him, and he can't see her because she's a ghost. And Melinda this whole time couldn't tell her that she had died. And that was really sad to me. Like, I'm tearing up thinking about it, but it was just like, it was really sad because, and then I went back and I rewatched everything after and it turns out, so she had died on the way. She had like got in her car to go to her brother's apartment to find the flight information to see if that was the flight he was on. And she had died. I think the plane crashed and she was nearby. I don't know. But that was really... I went back and I rewatched everything, and I was like, this whole time, nobody else is responding to her. But there are moments where it's like, Melinda clearly knows something, and at least if you're me, I was like, okay, I think it's meant to be implied, like Melinda knows that Andrea's brother is dead and she's not telling him, because there's something like Jim at some point, which is Melinda's husband, is like, have you told Andrea yet? And she's like, I don't know how. Like, there's something that Andrea doesn't know. And we see in the end that the thing that Melinda is unable to tell Andrea is not that her brother is dead, but is that Andrea's dead. That was heartbreaking. I will continue rewatching Ghost Whisperer. That honestly just kind of made me sad because I had already known that the character wasn't going to be in season 2. But I thought, like, she just moved away or something. Like, the fact, like, that really did catch me off guard. And the fact that, like, Melinda, like, damn, that must suck, but also be kind of nice. Like, if your best friend talks to ghosts when you die and you don't know you're dead this whole time. So I haven't kept watching Ghost Whisperer because the first episode of season 2 was making me too sad. But interestingly enough, I mentioned in my last episode that I remembered that there was some kind of professor character. He's in season 2. I don't know if he's there throughout, but he makes an appearance in season 2, right at the beginning of season 2. So that character that I remembered is there. So I'm excited to see where it's gonna go. I'll keep watching it. But that's my journey with Ghost Whisperer. I'll keep updating as I continue to watch. The next show I want to talk about is... Okay, this is so random, but I've been rewatching Hannah Brown's season of The Bachelorette. My favorite Bachelor podcast, Game of Roses, they have a Patreon, and on their Patreon, sometimes they watch seasons of shows, and right now they're watching Hannah Brown's season of The Bachelorette, and so I've been watching it with them. So I'm rewatching Hannah Brown's season of The Bachelorette, and like, what a time to be alive that was. I was there. I was plugged in. I was tuned in. My first season of the Bachelor franchise was Caitlin Bristow's. Great season to start. It like the night one packs a punch because it's like the 2 Bachelorettes. Who are they gonna pick? Then they pick Caitlin, and Caitlin Bristow. Then she brings Nick in, which was iconic. Then she has sex with Nick before Fantasy Suites. Sean Booth and the Nick Viall rivalry, great season. But anyways, I really liked Hannah Brown's season of the Bachelorette. She was like one of my favorite Bachelorettes up until that point. I remember I really liked her because I liked Caitlin Bristow because obviously she had like a special place in my heart. JoJo, I didn't really care for her season. Like, she was just okay to me. And through honestly no fault of her own, the men just sucked. I think there's something so wonderful about Hannah Brown's season now, that I'm remembering rewatching it, is that the cast is so good. Like, she's such a good lead, but the cast is also really good. And I think those are obviously 2 of the most important things when it comes to a Bachelor franchise show, because you can have a really great lead, but if the contestants suck, it sucks. Or if you have kind of a lackluster, shitty lead, but the contestants are great, then it's like Clayton's season. I have nothing positive to say about Clayton. I don't particularly have anything negative to say about Clayton. I don't really care about Clayton. He was like literally like the definition of like a blank piece of paper. Like we knew nothing of him going in. Like, he was like the most random pick for a Bachelor. And his season, if it hadn't had such a good cast, it wouldn't have been that. I mean, honestly, the whole like rose ceremony from hell thing was crazy, but like, Hannah Brown's season, it's just so good because the cast is so good. She was a great lead. It was just such a good era. And it's crazy to rewatch it now with a few things in mind. I mean, like, so much time has passed. Peter's been like all the different, it's so fascinating to watch that season back with all the context of everything that happens after within these relationships. Like, not just watching from the beginning knowing Jet has a girlfriend, but like watching knowing about the Peter Hannah Brown, the Tyler Cameron Hannah Brown. And I read her book, and like there's a lot of insight into like the reason she reacted certain ways to the different contestants, and also stuff that happened after the season wrapped, because like basically she got engaged to Jed. Obviously that ended because he had a girlfriend the whole time. And then she was like seen briefly with Tyler Cameron like after the final rose, but then he started dating Gigi Hadid, so obviously they weren't a thing. And then Peter and Hannah had like a mini, I mean, it wasn't like really that much of a flame, but she obviously had charged feelings with Peter still, and then she went on his season very briefly, like for 2 dates, and was distraught over it. And then they hooked up. I think they hooked up after he was the Bachelor, like after his engagement failed, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, like and then after the Peter thing, the quarantine crew happened. I think the Peter thing happened before. It's just crazy, the web of everything that happened. And obviously Luke Parker, it's so interesting because I'm an adult now, and I watched it when I think I was like 20 so I guess I was an adult. But so much time has passed that I have like, I don't know, it's just so fascinating watching the show, that season specifically, knowing so much more. And also I just feel like, I don't know, I remember Luke Parker, and I rewatched the final clip where she like sends him home. I've rewatched that many times, but I haven't rewatched like all of her season. And it's actually insane to rewatch him on the show, because I remember the ending being horrible, and obviously he's like very misogynistic and like slut shamey. But it's crazy, honestly, to watch the whole thing and just see how he's constantly gaslighting her and lying and being like, I never did that. You know, like, it's crazy. Like, he'll be like, I'm not going to talk about any of the guys. Then he talks about the guys, and the guys are like, did you talk about any of us? And he's like, no, I didn't. And then somebody asks Hannah, and she's like, oh yeah, he mentioned Mike, he mentioned Dylan, he mentioned you, like, he mentioned everybody basically. And then they're like, you lied to us. Or like in the episode I just watched, he literally said to her, I don't want to be misunderstood again. Like, he put it on her, like, basically, not like, I'm sorry I phrased it that way and that was the impact it had. It was like, you're misunderstanding me. It's actually your fault that you were offended by that, because you just misunderstood what I meant. Like, it's actually insane the ways that he was able to manipulate her. And like, honestly, watching it, not that I didn't have like empathy and compassion for Hannah. And I remember she says in the Men Tell All that she needed to see it for herself before she sent him home. Like, she couldn't just go off of what the men were saying. She needed to have that aha moment, or she would have always had that doubt, and she has no doubt. And I do agree. Like, obviously, at the time, I think it's really easy when you're watching The Bachelor to be like, why aren't they sending them home? Like, why aren't they sending them home? Why aren't they sending them home? And like, for me, honestly, a lot of the times I'm like, it's producers. And I do think obviously producers played a part. But to me, the really interesting thing about Hannah Brown and Luke Parker is that rewatching it, I'm understanding more and more why she kept him, because he is so manipulative and like sneaky and like deceptive. Like, it's genuinely, the rewatching it, I don't blame her. Like, I think it was easy as a viewer with the outsider's perspective. You see him say something and then him being like, I never said that. I think it's easy for us because we did see him say that. She wasn't there, and she obviously has, like, he's a very manipulative man, and I don't blame her. Not that I did at the time either, honestly, but the way he's able to like gaslight her and then like weaponize their faith, and I like I don't know. I'm glad it happened the way it did. And also reading her book and having a lot more insight into like the kinds of relationships she had before The Bachelor, it makes a lot of sense that because she, and I don't want to, I read her book like years ago, so I don't remember it like super, super well, but I'm pretty sure she had, similarly to a Luke P., I think one of her exes made her feel like weaponized their shared religion to like slut shame her, I think in a similar way to Luke, because I do remember in her book, she talks about like how she was triggered in that moment. And it wasn't even necessarily about Luke. It was about like that wound of being made to feel like you're not good enough because of something like that, which again adds so much more context. But it's genuinely crazy to me to rewatch that season and like see how deceptive and manipulative and like it's really crazy. Like it's crazy. That man is scary. Like that man is scary. He's also an Aries, and I do have an agenda against Aries men, so he definitely helps my agenda. But that's a great season. I think honestly, my biggest takeaways of like what made that season so magical and I wish that we would have more of, the relationships felt so real. Like you genuinely felt like, and I can't remember many seasons like this where it genuinely felt like Caitlin Bristow's actually similarly, maybe not all the men, but I remember watching that and it was my first season and I genuinely believed it could be anybody. I feel like now it feels like there's like a very clear winner and the other relationships are just like the lead is buying time. Hannah felt like genuinely invested in each relationship and it genuinely like felt devastating and emotional. Such a good season of TV. Like so much came from it too. What an era. The next show I want to talk about, and I'm really hopping around here, so sorry. This episode's probably not going to be super long, but I'm going to try to keep it to at least like an hour. I'm like struggling, honestly. I don't have many shows that I'm watching right now. But one show that I did watch, not all of, but most of this last week was Grosse Pointe Garden Society. I really do not have much that I'm watching right now. I've mentioned previously that I lost access to my family's Netflix. Don't you worry. We're getting it back for Ginny and Georgia because I refuse to be spoiled. Okay? I refuse to be spoiled. I will watch Ginny and Georgia. I think for season 2 I did a deep dive. Maybe I'll do a deep dive. I kind of want to just ramble about Ginny and Georgia the way I did for you season 4 without doing a deep dive because I'm working on the Yellow Jackets deep dive and that I actually do care about doing a deep dive for because the plot and the imagery and everything, like I there's more I want to dive deep into. I think I'll just ramble about Ginny and Georgia and then maybe if I feel up for it, I'll do a deep dive. But anyways, don't worry. I will be getting my Netflix back for Ginny and Georgia. Don't you fret. But I haven't had much to watch. I'm not caught up, so I don't know everything, but I really like it. It's funny because one of the actresses is from How to Get Away with Murder, and like obviously it's not exactly like How to Get Away with Murder at all because they're not law students. Like How to Get Away with Murder, it's catchy because it's like that's what she calls her class is How to Get Away with Murder. They're law students taking this class and then it flashes to the future where they kill somebody. Anyways, but similar to How to Get Away with Murder, there's like a time jump of like they're covering up a murder and then present day. I really like the show so far. It's super easily digestible, but like there's enough mystery and tension and suspense that it's been really fascinating to watch. I love a good timeline jump. Like as the present timeline progresses, you get more insight into like things from the future. I love that kind of narrative structure. Like I'm a super big fan of that. It's one of the reasons I was so drawn to Yellow Jackets. Like I just really like things that are not just like, oh, okay, like chronological. Like I like the time jumps and stuff. So I've been really enjoying that. The characters are also really interesting and it has actors that I know and have enjoyed in other things. And it's been fun to watch them in different roles. Like the actress Melissa Fumero from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, she's in the show, and her character is very different to the character she played on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I love her character. I think she's my favorite, to be honest. She is kind of like the newcomer. Basically, it's about a garden club. And in like a time jump, they're burying a dead body in the garden. So then as the timeline progresses, you're like, who did they kill? Yada, yada, yada. Are they going to get caught? Yada, yada, yada. And her character is kind of like the newcomer, and she's there because she's doing community service for a DUI, I believe. And we get more information about her. She, I think, is famous in some capacity. And she also has a son who she gave up for adoption. So that's like a big storyline. She's in like at first just a friendship, but then they get into more of a relationship with her son's adoptive stepfather. So like his adoptive mom married this guy, but now I think they're divorced. Yeah, they are divorced, or at least separated. Like, it's not like she's having an affair with him. He's single. They have a rapport because he's her biological son's father, so they have a relationship. He's also a cop, and that's really important because there's like a time she like goes to him and she's like, we killed somebody, which was crazy to me. I did not see that coming, but I don't really know. It's very interesting to me. I wonder if they're going to get caught. I'm not caught up, so I don't know if they're going to get caught. But I really like the different characters. One of the main characters, her like dog goes missing, and then the dog was like murdered. That was crazy to me. And then it like implied that it was one of her students because she's a teacher, and like a student is mad that he got a bad grade, and then it's like he craziness. But that character kind of has like a tension, like a friendship that is like, you know, charged with her like male best friend, and it's like, which I honestly I hate that. I hate that narrative arc. Like I don't know. I hate that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, and it is what it is. But I will be honest, like that kind of trope of like, you're my best friend, but you've been in love with me this whole time. I don't love that. Unless like they're both single and they're both in love with each other. But she doesn't seem to be, I mean, interestingly enough, she doesn't seem to be super like happily married. But also it doesn't seem like she, like it's a very requited, like it feels unrequited. I don't like it. I don't like that dynamic. I hate the male best friend is in love with his female best friend arc. I hate it. I have to be honest. I hate it. It feels like weird heterosexual propaganda. Like, can people of the opposite gender, like, or people who are attracted to people, like, why does it always have to be like, you're my best friend, but also I'm in love with you? That being said, I did watch a movie and I don't remember what it was called. Damn, what was that movie called? The girl from Sabrina the Teenage Witch was in it. The Netflix Sabrina, not like the old Sabrina. Kieran. I do not know how to pronounce her name. Shipka. What? Anyways, she was in a movie where her like male best friend, I did want them to get together. They're like, sometimes it works, but I guess it's like, it's weird to me when it's like, it's this guy and his female best friend, and he's divorced with kids and she's married, and then this whole time he's been in love with her. It's like, how long? Were they friends before he got married and he always liked her? Like, I need to know the timeline, because it's like, I mean, I guess not that you can't be friends with people, but it's just like weird. Like, sometimes it feels like there's a weird ulterior motive. I don't know. I don't really like that. A detail I really like, though, is the gardening. The gardening motif is included throughout the show. Like, they talk about different plants that each one of them would be, like different roles of plants in a garden, and how that like reflects their personality. I really enjoy the structure of the show. The characters are well done. It's like a murder mystery, but it's not like, or not mystery, I guess. It's a mystery to us because like we don't know immediately who's dead, and we find out stuff as the season progresses. But like, it's about death, and there's like drama and tension, but it's also like not too overly heavy or like depressing or like scary or anything. So I'm really enjoying it in that regard, because the majority of it is just learning about their lives, which then gives you insight into like the dynamics, who they killed, why they killed the person, etc. But it's not like the main thing is like about the murder, if that makes sense. I don't know. I just really like it. I like the structure of the show. that it's well acted, it's well done so far. I'm really enjoying it. I'm excited to finish the season. I don't know if it's all out already. I've been watching it on demand, but I'm really enjoying it. I recently watched all of Adults on Hulu because, again, I lost access to my family's Netflix and I couldn't think of anything to watch. And I have Hulu that I pay for on my own. It's my account, so nobody can kick me off of it. Not that, like, my parents purposely kicked me off of their Netflix. They didn't, okay? I'm not shitting on my parents. But I needed something to watch, and, like, there are a few shows on Amazon Prime that I want to watch, but I don't have an Amazon Prime account. I need to, like... Anyways, so since I have control over it, I was like, you know what, let me watch this show. I saw a billboard for it. I saw some people saying it was funny on TikTok, and the episodes are like 20 minutes long, super easy to digest, and I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. It's an interesting show because it's like, there were moments that I genuinely was like laughing out loud. It was so funny, and then there were moments where I was like, this joke is really not my sense of humor, and I actually really don't like that at all. Why would they write that? So it was an interesting show because it wasn't like 100% of the time I was laughing, but also the moments that I was laughing, I really enjoyed. I like the characters a lot. It's about like a friend group in their young adulthood, and the characters are really interesting. Sorry if there's any change in the audio. I'm recording this a day later than the beginning half of this episode. I started recording last night, Monday night, and I started getting sleepy and I wasn't making sense. So I'm recording this Tuesday night. It should be out by the end of Wednesday. Maybe not as early on Wednesday as I had originally planned, but it'll still be out sometime before Wednesday's over. So I've talked about a few shows here and there. I'm going to dive a bit more into Adults. I'm going to go more through like the plot points and like what I thought about different characters and stuff like that. So basically, Adults is a TV show about like young adults living in New York, and I really enjoyed it. I think I said this yesterday. I'll edit this so I'm not being redundant, but I watched the pilot episode, and I will be honest, it wasn't like one of those shows where I watched the pilot and I was like, I'm hooked, I need to keep watching it. I like to give most shows a chance. And so I watched the pilot episode, and it was like I don't know, the thing about the show, there are very few shows that I can think of in recent memory that I have evoked a similar reaction, because there were a lot of jokes and a lot of storylines and a lot of parts of it that I actually like really didn't enjoy, and I was like, I'm not vibing with this at all. But then there were also moments, sorry if you hear any background noise, I'm fostering kittens, and my cat Ernesto plays with them, but he doesn't realize how much bigger he is than them. Why are you meowing at me, Ernesto? Anyways, so the show started the pilot, and I was like, I don't really know if I like the show, but there were also moments that I was like dying laughing. So I kept watching it, and honestly, like the thing is, I think if it was a bit more serious or a bit like the episodes were longer, if it was like a heavier show, I think I would have given up on it because of the moments that I was like, I really don't like this, I'm not vibing with it. But it was so funny and also like easy to digest. Like the parts that I didn't really like, I was like, it didn't feel particularly like, okay, in the first episode, it's like a group of young adults. They live together in New York, and somebody they knew from college or something becomes like a bit of an internet celebrity because he came out about a story about being abused at work. And then one of the main characters, Billy, who I guess works for some kind of media company. Anyways, she mentions that like she did a story to her other friend, Samir. She like mentions to him that like they did a story, and like half the time men don't realize that they cross boundaries sexually. So Samir starts freaking out, and he reaches out to past relationships. And one of like, I think his ex-girlfriend is like, no, you were always super respectful, except there was one time that I was too drunk and you like technically assaulted me. And he like spirals about this. And I really didn't like the way that was handled. I don't know, maybe that like other people had different feelings about it. Because I'm like, I don't know. I don't think people are just casually like, oh yeah, you assaulted me, but it's fine. I really didn't like that, to be honest. And just like things like that where I was like, I don't find this funny. Like I find it a little weird. That was like, I think the first thing that I was just kind of like, I don't really like this. Like, I don't really like this. I kept watching it because honestly, I've been in a bit of a TV drought. I think things are going to pick up soon for me. But honestly, I was like, I don't really know much of what to watch. So I kept watching it. And I did really like, I think that was like the one storyline throughout the season that I really like. That was the one thing that really I didn't like. There were a few jokes here and there that I was like, I don't really love that. But like that particularly did rub me the wrong way. I did keep watching it. One of the main characters like loses her job and she has to get a procedure done. Or actually, no, wait. Because of like the internet rallying around this like guy they know, Billy's friends encourage her. She works at like a media company, but she wants like to do more. They encourage her to like to advocate for herself at work because, you know, her job might be more like open. Like they talk about a window of like when something big is going on, it's a good time to ask for stuff at work. Who knows? Anyways, so she is like really stressed out about it, and she like pushes and she has a meeting, but then it's a holiday, so the meeting that was originally scheduled is not going to happen. And then she talks to her boss and he keeps pushing it back, and then she like makes a comment, so and her boss is like, don't come in. And so she's kind of freaking out about if she's going to lose her job or not. The stress ends up causing like some kind of health issue, goes in and she requires a colonoscopy. And then Samir, who is like in charge of, I don't know what that's called. Oh, the proxy. He's made the proxy of her medical treatment. He like ends up pushing for on top of the colonoscopy to get all these other procedures, because her other friends are like, Billy might not have health insurance in a month, because the doctors are like, we'll do this, and then in a month we would like to bring her back for the other thing, and then the other thing to make sure it's not this and that and the other. So he freaks out and he pushes for her to get all of these procedures done the same day because she's going to lose her health insurance. Then turns out none of those resulted in anything. It wasn't like there was some underlying issue, and she wasn't insured at all through her job in the first place. So she owes a bunch of money. That storyline, like when she's in the hospital and like that was relatable to me. I am in my last month of being covered with my parents' health insurance. So like, you know, all of that, I thought that was very like the tone of the show and the kind of period of life these characters are in, I do really connect to and understand. And it does feel like I really liked How I Met Your Mother, but obviously that show came out when I was like younger. So it's a very different experience to kind of watch. Like I'm sure people who watched How I Met Your Mother at that time and like they related to the characters because of like that was the generation they were in. Because like How I Met Your Mother is not super relatable to me because of the climate in which, you know, like every generation, I'm sure when people who were younger than me, then like it's just a different experience to watch a show that takes place like the age I'm in, but also the period of time I'm in, because even Friends isn't relatable to me. How I Met Your Mother isn't relatable to me because those were different eras to be 20. To be in your 20s. So that part I did really like, and like it is funny, and there are a lot of like there were just some things that I was like, I don't find this funny, but then there were also moments that I thought were like super super funny and really enjoyable. Oh my god, then Billy, sorry, spoilers for the show, Billy then like starts freaking out. She goes to her high school a lot, and then she gets into like a relationship with like a former teacher of hers. I hated that. I will say I don't think it was I think it was done fairly well. Like it wasn't like normalized or glamorized. It was very much like this is weird. Like I did appreciate that there was like a tone of like, this is weird, she's a child, I knew you when you were younger. At least that was like acknowledged. It wasn't like, yeah, who cares, we're both adults now. It was very much like, this is odd. So I did appreciate that. But generally I really like the characters. There's a storyline. I really liked this one. I think this was one of my favorites, where one of the main characters is like super friendly with everybody, and there's like somebody who is like wanted for stabbing, and he like met him once, and then the guy shows up to their house, and his friends welcome the guy in, not knowing that because he's like, oh yeah, Anton's my best friend, and they're like, oh my god, if you're Anton's best friend, come in. So then they start like having a friendship with him, like bonding, right? And then Anton comes home and he's like, hi, who are you? And they're like, Anton, this is your best friend. Then Anton realizes that it's the guy who's wanted for stabbing, and he starts freaking out. And I enjoyed that. That was funny to me, of like, he's so friendly with everybody, he befriends somebody who then, like, that was interesting to me. I like that character. There's 6 main characters. There's Samir, Billy, Paul Baker, Issa, and then Anton, and they all live together. And Paul Baker is like, he's introduced in the beginning. Issa is like, that's her like boyfriend, and she's like, can he move in? And then he eventually does move in, and that kind of becomes the core group. I thought it was funny. Like, I really did enjoy the show. It's just like there are also things that are like, I don't think this is funny. You know? I don't know if that makes much sense. I think Issa was my favorite character, honestly, because I don't feel like I'm like her, but in my dream world, I wish I could be more like her, with like the way she's like very bold in her personality and like cares. Like, there's a storyline where she's like a dance teacher, and her dance students have like created this recital. Like, they made a whole dance sequence, and the teachers at the principal or somebody higher up in the school is like, the parents don't like this. Like, the PTA is like, we don't like this weird like dance recital they've created. And so she's like, no, this is what the students want. And she like locks herself in. And she's like, it's like a sit-in, and her friend Billy's there, and like, to help. And Billy's like, just give them what the parents want. Like, you're gonna get fired. And she's like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna stand for my morals. Like, I really like Issa's whole vibe and like the way she carries herself. I like her relationship with Paul Baker. That is kind of like, no, it is like a through line throughout the season, is her relationship with Paul Baker, because the ending of the season kind of concludes with the like, there's, I think, meant to be tension with Paul Baker and Issa and everything, because he's Canadian, and one of the things that was like established early on in the season was like, they don't really check their mail frequently. It just kind of piles up, and then they have a moment where they go through all their mail, which was unfortunately relatable to me, because I fear that is somewhat how I approach my mail. Like, one time, and this is fine now because it's past, okay, this was like in 2023, hasn't happened again. My car insurance like lapsed, or no, I don't think I was still insured, but I like hadn't submitted proof of insurance to the state of California. So they revoked my license, and I didn't see it until, well, the thing is, they sent me a notification in the mail, and they were like, send us proof of insurance or your license will be suspended at this point. And I missed it. I didn't get that. I hadn't checked my mail until the deadline had passed. So my license did get suspended. It was like super, super simple, because as soon as like, it was like you just send proof of insurance and then I had to pay a reinstatement fee and then my license was fine. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. It was literally like, as soon as we know you're insured, you get your license back. But like, that happened to me. That did happen to me. And I like freaked out because I got it. I opened it a week after they were like, this is the deadline and your license will be suspended as of this date. So I had driven around for like a week not knowing that my license was suspended. And that freaked me the fuck out because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go to jail. You don't go to jail for that. I would just get a fine. I didn't get a fine, luckily, but anyways. So that was relatable to me. But anyways, he is a Canadian living in the United States. So he opens the mail and his visa expired. He's gonna leave the country. Which actually, now that I'm saying that happened in How I Met Your Mother. That like literally happened in How I Met Your Mother. Like literally. And interestingly enough, I wonder if there was any intention for these parallels to exist, or if it's just because I watch a lot of TV, so it's in my mind. But like, How I Met Your Mother kind of begins with like a shift in the group, like somebody's welcomed into the group. Not exactly, because Robin isn't really welcomed into their friend group until like a couple episodes in. But it's just interesting how I Met Your Mother, like, it opens with meeting Robin, who's then introduced to the group, which like meeting Robin propels like a lot of things to happen. Anyways, but Robin is Canadian, and at some point she also is like gonna get kicked out of the country. But different from this, Robin in How I Met Your Mother, she was gonna like lose her visa because she wasn't employed. So she needed to get a job in her field to like retain her visa. There's no information on like what his visa is. They're like, he has to leave the country and then maybe reapply. But then somebody suggests marriage and they're like, boom. And I'm like, honestly, I don't think that's how that works. I know it's like a comedy show, but I'm like, it's really not that simple. I know people who, I mean, not personally, but like I've seen stories of people who like, you are like in a committed relationship, you got engaged, you got married, and then it's like pretty complicated to immigrate. Maybe if you already had a visa and then you stay in the country. But even then, I feel like it's not as simple. And obviously, again, it's a comedy show. But I'm like, it's not like boom. And also, okay, spoiler for the end of the season. Issa like proposes to Paul Baker because she's like, we don't want you to leave the country. I'll get married to you. Then turns out she was married this whole time to some other guy as a bit. So she sends her friends to get him to sign the divorce papers. He finally does sign the divorce papers. They're getting ready to get married. And Issa starts to panic about getting married. And her friend Billy is like, you've already been married. And she's like, but that's different. That was for a bit. Like, this is serious. Like, I'm actually in a relationship with this guy. We live together. Like, it's a completely different thing. Like, I'm not ready to be married to him. So she panics. And then somebody has to marry him. So at first Samir proposes. He's like, I'll marry you. They're like, Samir, you're straight. He's like, I can manage. Anton ends up marrying him. And I'm like, yes, I mean, I guess they all live together. But I'm like, it's complicated enough for people who are actually like in long-term committed relationships to like, that's not how that works. Obviously, it's a comedy show, yada, yada, yada. But like, and who knows like the extent of his immigration status. I'm not an immigration expert in every single capacity. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. The only thing I know in terms of immigration is what I've been through, and none of that had to do with getting married, so I can't really speak to that. I wouldn't be surprised if like a green card you get from a relationship is different than like the one that I got that was like, anyways, who knows? I'm not an immigration expert, but I don't think that's how that works, that he would just stay in the country. I really liked Paul Baker. I think, honestly, my least favorite character was Samir, just because in the pilot episode, he's like, did I cross any boundaries? And somebody's like, yeah, you assaulted me. Then he gets back together with that girl. So I'm like, that just doesn't sit right with me. I find that kind of, like, offensive. I don't think anybody, like, was she kidding? Or did she seriously, was she's like, that was not okay? Because the tone of that in the show, I really did not enjoy. Like, I really didn't enjoy that. Like, I think that would have turned me off in the whole show if I didn't. I was really drawn to Issa and Anton and just, like, the pacing of the show. I kept watching, but that really bothered me. Samir is an interesting, funny character. I enjoyed him. And I had seen that actor. I had seen like a comedy set of his in a TikTok clip, and I thought he was funny. So like I think they're funny. I enjoyed it. I really did. There were just some things that I was like, I don't love this, but that's okay. I don't have to like everything about a show. There's another scene. There's a storyline where it's the same episode. It's the episode where they find out that Anton befriended a guy who maybe stabbed or who is wanted for a stabbing. Samir's parents, because basically the five of them live in Samir's parents' house in Queens, and his parents are always gone. I'm unsure if like they're currently residing there and his parents are, because it seems like his parents are gone on a trip, but then it also seems like they've been living there for a while. So I'm like, do his parents just like have another house, or are they just traveling the globe for many, many years? Because when try to go get Issa's Issa's husband to sign the divorce papers, he like wanted to move in and it was capped at 4. So it's like implied that unless she was like recently married, I don't really know. Anyways, really not super relevant. They're living in Samir's parents' house in Queens. So his parents hear about the stabbing and they mention like check this closet and they find a gun. So he goes to sell the gun. Him and Paul Baker go to sell the gun because they're like, we don't know what to do. Why do my parents have a gun? And the whole selling the gun, I didn't like that scene either. At some point, they're going to sell the gun, and the clerk, I don't know what the fuck people who work at gun stores are called, he uses the R word. And then Paul Baker is like, we don't really use that word anymore. The cast of Glee kind of got rid of that with The Power of Song, which, as much as I hate the fact that they use the R word at all, that was a funny comment from Paul Baker. Like, shout out to Paul Baker for mentioning Glee. Like, it's had a like really disturbing resurgence on the internet and like normalizing the word again. So maybe it's good to be reminded, like that people need to be reminded that word is like not something that people should be using. But anyways, and Samir really wants the money for Billy because Billy has like a $15,000 hospital bill that he like feels like he caused by pushing for her to get all of the procedures in the same day that she didn't end up needing because he thought her insurance was gonna be revoked, but she didn't have insurance at all. So it just screwed her over. But anyways, she ends up getting that bill like resolved because she's going back to her high school a lot, and the teacher who she ends up then getting into a relationship with, he's like, you should just call the hospital and see if there's anything you can do. And so it gets like severely reduced and she doesn't have to pay $15,000. She only has to pay like $2,000. And that's when she starts dating this teacher because he saved her a bunch of money, which like, okay, but he was still your teacher. Not that I think I ever would, honestly, but thank God that I don't live near my high school. I don't think that I would go back even if I did, but I'm like, I just thank God I don't live near my college either, because I do fear that I would go back to my college. I have nostalgia for my college. My college reunion was like recently, and I didn't know that my college reunion was happening, to be honest. Because, okay, the thing is, it's not like the first year. I graduated in 2021, and it's also not like a milestone year, because again, I graduated in 2021. So I guess it's been, well, I graduated in December of 2021, so it's only been like 3.5 years for me. But it's been like 4 years, right? It's not like the 5th year. And even some of my friends who graduated in 2022 went back. Like, it felt like everybody was there. Like, there have been reunions since, and not like everybody in the world, like not all of my friends. I mean, not every single friend of mine went back, but like a good amount of people that I like know went back. And I'm like, damn, I didn't know this year was popping. Like, what's up with 2025? That so many people are going back. It's not like our 5th year reunion. For some people it was, but like some people it was like 3 years. Anyways, so I did have FOMO for that recently. But like I honestly can't imagine. Honestly, the thing is, part of me would maybe one day, it would be cool to go back to my high school to talk to the newspaper people. The thing is, if my same journalism teacher was still the teacher, it'd be one thing. But the journalism teacher there now, I do not know. I've never met. Has no idea who I am. So I feel like it'd be weird for me to go back. I mean, like they have like the back catalog of like newspapers from like decades. So like I'm sure my name is there somewhere. Like I could prove that I was in charge of the design team. But I think it would be cool now because I worked as like the head of the design team on my high school newspaper. I design newspapers now. Like I would go back to do that. That would be cool if I was like, I do this as a job now, guys. It's pretty cool. But never anything with a teacher. That was, I would never, that was crazy to me. I hated that storyline. But yeah, I really like Anton. I really like Issa. I think they're my two favorite characters. Samir and Billy, I really didn't care for them. Billy was like interesting somewhat, you know, like the being stressed about her job and then being unemployed, like all of those things, her hospital bill, like she had to, like, I just didn't vibe with her personality much. Please forgive any pauses. My cat Ernesto really is like scruffing my foster kittens. Why? He thinks he's their father. Anyways, this is why I need to do video podcasting again. It's a lot of work. But I'm like, this would be so cute right now. There's a kitten on my lap. You can't see her or him. Sorry. That's Ernesto. You can probably hear him in the background. Anyways, but yeah, I did enjoy the show. I honestly, there are a couple other shows I really want to watch. I just don't have access to them as easily because I need to log on to like my mom's Amazon Prime account. But I will be checking those out, and I will probably talk about those next week. But this show, I have Hulu, so it was very easy to access. All the episodes are out. They're like 30-minute episodes, and I think there are 8. So it's like super digestible, super easy. The pacing's good. It's funny. A few moments I didn't love, but like, you know, I'm sorry if this episode is like shorter than normal. I don't really have anything else that I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to wrap up. Before I wrap up, actually, let me talk very briefly about what I hope will happen in Ginny and Georgia season 3. I will be talking about that in my next episode, along with any of those other shows that I really want to watch. Motorheads on Amazon Prime. My sister recommended that to me. And then I've seen a lot of people compare Adults to Overcompensating. Apparently they have similar vibes. So like I enjoyed Adults. I might as well check out Overcompensating. But that's also on Amazon Prime. So I'll maybe check those out. Ginny and Georgia season 3 will be out like literally within a day of when this podcast will go live. So I'll talk about that in my next episode. I have a few things that I want to touch on next week. Love Island just started, and I'm not like a huge Love Island watcher, but I did start the first episode. So maybe I'll share some thoughts on Love Island, but I'm really, really new to Love Island. And I'm only like watching it because my favorite Bachelor podcast is covering it. So I'm like, I don't know if I'll have much to say, because I've never seen a full season of Love Island. Will I watch this whole season? I don't know. I've watched the first episode. I'll see if I'm engaged with their coverage. Maybe I'll keep watching it. And if I have any thoughts, I'll talk about that. But like, I feel like I have a good amount of things coming up. I am also working on the Yellow Jackets deep dive, but that is like taking me, that's not going to be done next week. So I have a few things that I'm going to talk about next week. But before I wrap up, I want to talk very briefly what my hopes for Ginny and Georgia season 3 are. So based on the promos, Georgia is, I think, going to jail, or she's on house arrest. She gets arrested. She's on house arrest of some capacity. I think there's a trial. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see how that impacts the dynamic. What I really want to see is, I feel like I have a controversial opinion where a lot of people really hate Ginny, and they're like, and I don't hate Ginny as a character or really like as a person. I have a lot of compassion for Ginny because I think, and I also, not that I don't have compassion for Georgia, I also have a lot of compassion for Georgia. I feel like people sometimes, and like not to sound all high and mighty, but I feel like a lot of people sometimes people watch TV so simplistically where they're like, Georgia went through so much to provide for Ginny, and Ginny's ungrateful, and it's like, both things can be true. Georgia did the best she could. She tried to parent, like she sacrificed everything she could. being Ginny's mom was like her main priority, and she did so much. She did everything she could, and she cared so deeply. And it also wasn't what Ginny needed, and it also Georgia could have been doing her best and also not have been a good parent to Ginny. The way people talk about Ginny really bothers me, because it's like she's a teenage girl who, like, try to put yourself in her shoes. Like, the amount of instability and constant change she dealt with. I obviously, to a significantly lesser degree, because I had two parents in, like, under the same roof. Neither of my parents are murderers, to my knowledge. They didn't have me young. There's, like, obviously a lot of traumas and parts of Ginny's story that I do not relate to, but I moved a lot as a kid, and even that within itself, the constant movement, the lack of a stable, like, one home for a lot of my early years did impact me very severely. And so I have naturally a lot of compassion for Ginny, because I'm like, she's gone through a lot. Yes, Georgia went through a lot to provide for her and try her best, and she would literally kill for Ginny. But that doesn't mean that is what Ginny needs as a parent. It also doesn't mean that Ginny didn't go through things. Like, I don't know. Like, Georgia went through a lot trying to raise Ginny, but also, like, it's completely understandable to me that Ginny is not a particularly well-adjusted teenage girl. Like, I think her character makes a lot of sense. So I don't know. I would hope, and maybe this won't happen, but I'm really interested to see how their dynamic is going to shift and grow with like Georgia's trial and everything. Like, I'm interested in their dynamics specifically. I'm really interested in Max, Abby, like that Nora, that whole friend group. Mang, I think they call them. I really like Mang. I want Max and Abby to be together. I'm like, I don't like Max with her ex-girlfriend. I don't know if they were together. I don't remember. I'm excited to see where things go. I have very little ideas, but I don't know if it's possible, because I think their relationship has, like, a lot of, like, weight. And again, I don't feel like Georgia really understands Ginny's perspective, or, like, I think sometimes when you're trying so hard and you're trying so hard and you're trying so hard and you're giving and you're giving and you're giving, if the other person is like, I'm not getting what I need, it's hard sometimes to face the fact that no matter how hard you're trying, it might not be what the other person needs. And I think Georgia has a lot of, like, moments where she's like, look at everything that I've accomplished. Look at everything I did. I did so much for you. I would do so much for you. That she's not hearing the fact that Ginny's like, but I'm not receiving what I need. So I guess I would love some kind of breakthrough moment where Georgia's able to be like, I tried the best I could, and I'm trying the best I can, and I love you, and I would, like, kill for you, but I'm sorry, it's not what you need. Like, that's what I would want. I want some kind of breakthrough. I want some kind of, like, mother-daughter connection and, like, understanding that I feel like we haven't really gotten. I want more Joe and Georgia, even if it's not romantic. I just feel like we didn't get enough of them in season 2. I don't know. I'm excited to see where the season goes. I'll talk about it in my next episode, but I think that's where I'll wrap up. If you have any shows that you would like to hear my thoughts on, please let me know. Sorry this episode was all over the place. Thanks for tuning in. Means a lot. Hope you have a great week. You'll hear from me next Wednesday-ish